Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Alkis, and today I'm going to talk about whatever the title about human-computer interactivity. I would like to start with a little bit of a demonstration of something. So please bear with me for 2 minutes while I plug my guitar in, and I'll get going. I had everything set up, but my computer decided to update itself while Rebecca was giving her presentation, so apologies for this. So, this is actually pretty cool, sorry. I think I was 5 years old on top of the washing machine with a toy guitar. I thought it was a funny picture. Any observations, feel free to speak. Any observations about what you saw me do here? Any thoughts, liked it, was the most life-changing experience you've ever seen? These kind of things.
Were you following the pitch of the sound, or was the sound following you?
No questions, I said observations, okay? But nevertheless, both. And I will get into this. During my presentation. Anything? Okay, no pressure. I will continue. Instruments in general in music, we know the guitar, the voice, the piano. There's this relationship with, maybe the voice wasn't that great of an example, but anyway, so like the guitar, I am the performer, I have my instrument, I perform some sort of an action on my instrument, and then I produce a sound. Right? So there's this relationship of performer does something, the instrument. So it's the input and output relationship, right? It's the same thing with, it doesn't have to be music, it's the same thing with using a keyboard on Microsoft Word. Press A, input, action. So with this, now, with the use of the computer now and these various tools that are available to us, we can play around with this idea. From what you asked for, the performer can input something, can produce something, does an action, then the instrument can do something, but then there's this sort of feedback that's happening, whereas the instruments, in this case, when I'm saying instrument, I'm talking about my computer as well. So my program that I developed in my laptop. So the instrument, I play something, then the instrument responds based on that's something that I've played. But there's also this possibility of the instrument from the input that I give it to do some processes internally without me necessarily. So it has a little bit of an autonomy by itself. Some processes are not related to what I do. They were pre-programmed by myself as a composer, but not necessarily from what I play live. So there's all of these different relationships basically that we can see in this sort of spectrum of interactivity in music, because if we are pretty strict with the definition of interacting in music, if I play my guitar and sing, that's an interaction, some sort of interaction, but when we're talking about human-computer interaction, we're putting the computer in the equation, then there we have the more traditional, I do some actions on my computer and there's output with the more conventional way of thinking, and then there's this similar one. There's the one that which is similar to my demo, where there's this variety of things where I, as a performer, give some information, the computer responds, and all of this beautiful stuff. And then there's the other one where the computer by itself, the only thing that I have to do is I turn it on and it plays. But there it's a little bit, it doesn't require live input. It doesn't require someone to, in the moment, give the computer some information. The computer is pre-programmed with a set of rules to produce music by itself. Now, that being said, it's something that was mentioned in the previous presentations as well, is that this technology without human input it won't produce anything. So, in the scenario of the last, what I have the instrument with the feedback arrows to itself is what I mean that without human, the machine is not going to play by itself, the human input, but what it means in that specific scenario is that the performers, the composers, I guess, cultural background, musical preferences are going to be very evident in the outcome of the instrument. Even though you might be seeing me pressing play, and the computer will do the various processes that it has been programmed to do. Now, I want to talk about a few people that are quite important in this sort of tradition of music, of computer-generated music, sort of interacting performer and some sort of a program, duos and trios and whatever. I want to talk about David Rosenboom. David actually was my mentor during my PhD studies. And David has been doing this kind of music since the 1960s. And he has done work with using brainwave feedback and with John Lennon. Actually, it's kind of hilarious when John Lennon and Yoko Ono were going through that period of their career. He was doing some work with them. David has created an instrument, and it's called the hierarchical form generator. And it basically, the piano player, it's for a piano performance, it's piano, and then there's another piano. I have a video that I will show you here. Basically, the performer does something, then the computer is programmed to make some specific decisions, and then there's a specific output that comes out from that. This is the hierarchical music specification language. This is not really used anymore. It was done on computers similar to the one that Stella has shown us before in the first presentation. And I think now David uses a reactor just for the technical people. Yeah. Okay. Well, show you the video. I thought it's beautiful pictures of 1970s David. I never met him like this. I don't know why. Now here is another example of this. The performer does something, the piano plays itself, which is actually, in this case, it's really, I think, just aesthetically speaking, the result is stronger when you have the actual piano, when you are in the room and the piano, you see the keys actually playing themselves rather than hearing sort of beeps and boops coming out from the speaker like you heard mine doing it. There's a different energy coming from, and also the drama that comes from the actual piano playing itself, you know, it's something else. And it's something that's actually quite common with a lot of these people. David uses a player piano to play itself. The other example that I'm going to show right now also does the same. There's just something physical to it, and also just basically the fact that the piano is producing the acoustic sound in the room as well, so it's not coming from a speaker. There's a difficult sort of relationship happening there, which is quite interesting. sort of humanizes, I guess, the output of the instrument that's playing itself. Now, another example is from George Lewis, another sort of to lay down the academic family tree of mine. George Lewis is not my mentor, but he was one of my other mentors' mentors. So there's sort of this, really, we're all a big academic family here. Another legendary figure in interactivity in music, again, has been doing this since the 1970s. There was something going on in that era that made these people write music for computers. The difference here with what, for instance, from David's instrument, is that George Lewis's instrument called the Voyager, his instrument has the ability to do both. Remember the previous, when I had laid out the performer and instrument relationships, and I had 3 different relationships. So George Lewis's instrument has the ability to live in all 3, whereas David's instrument lives in the middle one, mine also lives in the middle one. Voyager is an instrument that can play by itself. It doesn't require human input to play. And I have some example of it as well. In the 70s, when George was first developing this, the performances with this were from the audio was coming straight from the computer, so there was no sort of conventional instrument like a MIDI piano, like the ones that we saw before. So it was basically an orchestra it was a MIDI orchestra, MIDI like an electronic sounding orchestra. But lately, also due to COVID, George has decided to move, make a more compact version of Voyager. So he's hooking the instrument, the software to a player piano like David. Just for those who don't know about these pianos you see, there's these like little lights. So there's these little red lights that are lighting up on top of the piano keys. That's MIDI signals. So these pianos, lovely instruments, extremely expensive, but they can be played like regular pianos by others, so they can send MIDI signals, electronic signals to a laptop or any MIDI-enabled device. So, sorry that I was speaking on top of it, but so the piano is sending MIDI electronic signals into the computer. The computer is also taking the input from the microphone, and then the piano is interacting with them, but also the piano has the ability to play by itself without any input in this specific instrument. Something that is very, I think I'll mention again, is going back to that idea that the person who programs these instruments obviously controls the general aesthetic output of these instruments. And there's this really interesting interview actually from quite acclaimed pianist from the jazz and more, I guess, contemporary world in the States, Jason Moran, who is interviewing George Lewis actually after a performance that they both had with the instrument. And the interviewer, Jason Moran, is telling George Lewis, oh, I felt like when I was playing with Voyager, he was playing some blues. And George Lewis was saying, well, I don't think it was, because I didn't program it to do anything like that. So it was your own perception, but I don't think so. There's this interesting thing that, not interesting, it's something that you need to keep in mind when you are listening to these kinds of instruments, that these instruments are sort of a reflection of the person who has programmed them. Now again, going back to this beautiful graphic, my demo lives in this world, and depending on, we have some time, I can go a little bit more in depth into this, but I'm afraid I'm going to bore you to the technicalities. So my instrument falls into this category. Basically, I have a software developed by a research center in France called IARCAM that enables me to make my audio signal into MIDI signals, so it's easier to control because it's very annoying to control direct audio signal and pinpoint the exact pitch that I'm playing, or in order to not get false positives. It's another technical hassle that without good software you cannot control. This is an excellent software from this research center in France. So that is the beginning of whatever is happening in my instrument. I can extract pitch information, I can extract amplitude, level, how loud something that I play is. And then from those two, I can also detect the first attack of the note, and then when the note stops. Now I need that information in order to count the number of notes that I have played. I think I can see. So in the performance that I played 1,896 notes. And in order to do it, to measure that, I need those three information: pitch information, amplitude, and on and off of a note. Then from the on and off, I can calculate the rhythms of the various pitches that I play. And then the way I have programmed the instrument to play back, because I'm hoping that you were able to see or hear from what I was doing, was that there's these various levels of interaction. It feels like sometimes I am giving information to it. It feels like sometimes the computer is getting information from me. And there's this back and forth. And actually, all of it is true. Because the majority of the content that's generated from the device is through sort of controlled randomness, which basically I give it all of the pitch information that I play, it gets collected, and then it gets outputted based on probability. So if I play more Gs, it will give me more Gs. If I play more Cs, it will give me more Cs. So that's the way, but still the overall effect is that of what we expect of computers and machines and robots to sound like which is something that I find really powerful and I'm drawn to. Both George Lewis and David Rosenboom are trying to program their instruments to sound human-like. And personally, I'm not that interested in that. I don't care to make my computer to sound as if I am playing it. I'm more drawn to the idea of pushing human limitations and like sounding myself like a computer. So as what we perceive a computer would sound like, because we don't really know what computers sound. So that's sort of the, I guess, aesthetic that I am approaching the development of this instrument myself, which basically in one sentence I would say that it's a training tool for me to sound like a machine. Sounds a little, but that's how I'm approaching it basically. And I've been playing with this instrument for a couple of years now, and I feel like I'm getting closer to sounding like it every year. And I can tell you that the first time I played with this, there's progression, which is kind of interesting on a personal observation level. And that's it from me. Thank you.